love bass fishing. What's going on, everybody? I'm out here on Wansbar Reservoir, gonna try and get on some fish today. It's late fall. It's actually December 2nd. Water temperatures are currently 51 degrees, so they've cooled off a little bit. Last week they were still in the mid 50s, like 55, 54 degrees. So I think things have probably changed. I'm gonna throw a variety of different baits. I got a jig rigged up, some shallow diving crankbaits, a jerk bait, and an A-rig. So I don't know what today has in store, but we're gonna give it our best. Probably gonna be fishing transition banks close to bluffs, maybe even some bluff walls and some points, things like that. Just your traditional late fall, winter habitat. And hopefully we can get on some fish. So stay tuned and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so the first spot that I picked here is a transition bank. Still pretty steep here, but this bank's a little more gradual and leads up into a bluff wall right up here. So it's usually a pretty good spot for largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, pretty much every kind of species. I guess we'll see if we can't get bit. You know, I'm back in a creek arm too. This is a really big creek arm of the lake. It's like one of the primary arms of the lake, and you know, I'm not sure if the fish will be in here. They're pulling current today, so honestly my better bet would maybe be main lake stuff because that current's rolling, but we'll try in here for a little bit. If it doesn't work, we'll move. It's kind of part of late fall winter fishing, is covering lots of water. Yeah, so I'm just going to mix in moving baits, try and cover some water, and then anytime I see some visible structure or anything like that, I'll flip a jig in there and see if I can't get bit that way. Like right here, I'm going to put this down. I got a log coming up. Flip this jig in there and see. Looks like there's some crappie down in there. Fish down there. It's a big old tree. Oh yeah, boys. Look at all crappie. You can see this transition bank. See how it went from like this little slate rock, or this small little slate rock, to this bedrock or bluff wall, big chunk rock. This is the kind of stuff that fish like to sit on in the winter. There should be one here. Just gotta figure out what they want. There's a little one. What is this? Little smallmouth. Good lord. What are you doing, little dude? Lure's as big as you. Tiny. Good boys. Yes. Yes. That's good. That's a good sign. Grass up in there. Got it. On the jerkbait, it's a nice one. I knew there'd be fish there. There's a bunch of grass out there. Oh my God, it's a giant toad. That is a stud. There's a bunch of grass out there. It's still green. On the paws, that fish come up and ate it. Oh my gosh, it's a nice fish. Look at how he ate that. Oh my gosh, dude. That is freaking awesome. Look at how he ate that jerkbait. Look at that fish, boys. Oh my gosh. Man, I love bass fishing. That is an awesome fish. Look at that. He's got a bluegill tail down his throat. Wow. That is an awesome fish. So what I'm fishing is the creek channel, and this big arm of the lake runs along this bank, but right here is a transition bank, and it's got some chunk rock, transitions to gravel, then to bluff. And out off of it, there's a little flat, and it's got green, luscious grass on it. And man, these nice ones are up in it. That's awesome. On the old shallow shadow wrap, just the original shadow wrap, Rapala. Right on the paws, he got it. So awesome. Let's see if we can't catch another one. Well, I just caught that fish, and I'm literally casting in the exact same spot again. There's some grass down there, and a lot of times this time of year, you catch one, you can catch some more off the same spot. They group up, especially right here to this transition into the winter time period. You know, it's right now, it's right on that line where fish will start getting into some of their wintertime stuff, so you could catch them, you know, on deep points, offshore, things like that. But you can still catch them on their late fall transition areas, you know, like exactly what I'm fishing right here. This is just a little bit shallower bank before it hits that creek channel bank, that creek channel swing right on that bluff wall ahead of me. So you see on the graph here, this red, it extends out. That's a shallow flat right there. And then see how these contour lines right here tighten up along this bank? Right here's the creek channel. It swings along this bank. So they're just sitting right here waiting, and once we get cold weather, they have close access to deep water, so they can just slide off right here, right along this bluff wall, and they're good to go. So I mean, that's just a key area to fish this time of year, and definitely don't pass it up when you see it on your graph. Something you should always fish. But you can see that grass I'm talking about. It's hydrilla. It's down there on that transition. It's still green. That's good stuff. I just need to find it. This jerkbait, it fishes pretty shallow, but man, it's still getting the top of it. I'm trying to fish that jerkbait above the grass. On the paws again. The brown bass, he's digging like one. Yeah. Little brown bass. On that jerkbait again. Just on the pause. Another transition bank. This one's the other side of that creek channel that I was fishing. Coming up to a point. Little brown bass. Come on, fish. Where are you? My A-rig. There he is. There's a boat coming by. Not a very big one, but hey, on the old A-rig, little spot. See ya. A-rig is good out deep, but how I usually fish it is kind of like right along bluff walls like I was just doing back there, and then almost kind of like a spinner bait. You have light heads like 16th ounce or 8th ounce heads and some smaller swim baits. You can throw it on just a heavy action rod and cast it up there shallow around laydowns and stuff like that and catch fish doing that. It's kind of what I'm doing right now. You don't always have to have huge tackle and a giant A-rig to catch fish in the wintertime. But, in this kind of a scenario, it's almost nice to have a shorter rod, not a super heavy rod. You can make those accurate casts. And cast it up there around wood and catch fish. But the deal is you really got to have somewhat clear water. Right now I have at least probably 4 or 5 foot of visibility. And it's actually pretty stained for this time of year. We had a bunch of rain early on this week and kind of dirtied up the water a little bit, but there's one more bank I want to try before I have to leave today. See if there's any fish on it. I'll head over there right now. Got him. Biggin. He came off. Darn. So I'm talking about throwing that A-rig up shallow, fishing it kind of like a spinner bait. That was a really nice fish. Hopefully I can catch another one. That was awesome. I think I found out what happened. My swim bait got balled up around the hook. That's rare. You usually don't lose them on an A-rig like that. What's going on, everyone? I just got off the water, made it back home. I had a great day out there fishing. Caught a really nice fish, caught some other smaller fish as well, and then also lost some really nice fish too, on some baits that you usually don't lose fish on, but that's just part of fishing. It happens. But overall, it was a great day out there, and I kind of wanted to just take my time and go through some of the baits that I was using today and my setups, so that you guys can kind of go out there and wherever you're fishing and employ the same tactics. So first and foremost, I was using a jerkbait. This was definitely the key bait of the day. I caught that really nice fish early on in the day that you guys saw there. And what this is it's actually a really cheap Daiwa Arid X rod, 7-foot medium. And so their medium action, because it is a cheaper rod, it's a little bit slower, so it actually fishes like a medium light. It has more of a parabolic bend to it, which is great for a jerkbait with these little treble hooks, you know. So had it on a Daiwa Tatula 7:1:1 100, and so that's a high-speed gear ratio. You want that when you're fishing jerkbaits, because a lot of times when you're twitching that bait, you have slack in your line, and when you get that bite, which today was on the pause, I was getting all my bites when that bait was sitting there still. You want to be able to pick that line up quick and set the hook. So had it on 10-pound test, wanting to get that jerkbait down deeper. The water was pretty clear, so that 10-pound test does just perfect for me. And I was just using a regular Rapala shadow wrap, not the shadow wrap deep. And the key with this bait, this is a great jerk bait this time of year, is because it suspends perfect, and actually most of the time it has a very slow sink. So when you twitch it, it does this, nose is down, and then it slowly sinks. So that's a really big key this time of year. It just imitates a dying bait fish or a dying shad just perfect. So you know, in the late fall and winter, pick yourself up a jerk bait, go out there and fish it on transition banks and bluff walls and anywhere where those fish are holding. So and then the second bait that I caught some fish on and then also lost a fish on was a Alabama rig. And so here's my Alabama rig right here, and I actually fish this a little bit different than most people do. I have this rigged up on 50-pound braid to a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, and then I just have it on a 7-foot heavy action rod. Because of my setup, I can fish this A-rig on a lot smaller setup than most people can. And the reason for that is I am using 1/8-ounce jig heads. So these are just 1/8-ounce Berkley Fusion Swimbait heads, and these are actually little 3.3 Strike King rage swimmers on the back. So the bait fish this time of year is really small. Doesn't mean you can't catch them on bigger swim baits, but you know, when the fish are pressured and everybody and their brother's throwing an A-rig, I think these smaller swim baits just attract to more fish, and it gets you more bites throughout the day. So but what these little 1/8-ounce jig heads do is allow me to fish this bait ultra shallow without getting hung up, and I can fish it in and around cover. So I kind of talked about it in the video earlier, but what it does is it allows me to go up there, throw it right up on the bank, and I can let it sink and fish deeper on bluff walls and things if I want as well. But I can also throw this up around brush piles and lay downs right there next to the bank and almost fish it just like you would a spinner bait. And it's just really effective this time of year, and it catches a lot of fish. So most of the time when I'm fishing an Alabama rig, I have the little spinners on here, the blades. Just adds more flash, makes it look like a bigger school of bait fish, and it's just a great way to catch fish this time of year. And honestly, there are times where this rig will outfish everything in your tackle box. This is just at times what you have to be throwing to get bites. That's just the way it is, and I don't mind it because I love catching them on an Alabama rig. And again, I do want to stress too, every state has different regulations. In Tennessee, we can't use more than 3 hooks. So this is a 5-wire rig, but these 2 up here are dummies. There's no hooks in them, as you can see. So you know, just use little CPS centering springs or twist locks, and you'll be good to go regulation wise. So it's a great way to catch fish. And you know, also this time of year, another great tactic is shallow cranking on transition banks before bluff walls, as well as like shallow points and things like that. Especially if you got a warm day in the late fall or winter, those fish will pull up shallow and they almost just want to sun themselves and get warm. So a shallow crankbait can be super effective too. I didn't have any fish commit to a crankbait today, so I don't know why. It just was one of those days. But you know, a little Frittside 5 like this is a great little bait this time of year as well. So if you've got one of those in your tackle box, don't be afraid to throw it this time of year. But I appreciate you guys coming along with me today, and I hope you learned something, and I'm hoping I can get back out this weekend and try and get on some fish again. So I'll see you guys next time.